Oh my goodness. Okay, I've met so many people recently who know jujitsu.
She could basically beat us up.
Oh yeah.
Basically.
One time in 8th grade, we were doing a project, and this kid knew jujitsu, and I was like, "Show me," and he like completely took this other kid down in a chokehold, and this other kid's like face like went bright red, and I was like, "What's happening?" And that's so cool. What's that you do?
Soccer.
Soccer. Oh, so do you do that at Williams?
I was trying to do it. Yeah, but that might not happen.
Yeah.
What's up?
Hey, bro. Hey,
Very good.
Like, you have Disney Monopoly. Yeah, we have to. I lost so much. Okay, I lost AJ.
Yeah, but this is
No, I never said that.
So you
AJ is a
you feel good about starting out in this? What you can do is just make that name tag. I would say, yeah, it's only like that's fine, because we'll still have we can give you the 15 passenger days, because the Mercedes will have a bunch of Mercedes.
So we're taking the Mercedes and renting them in.
We rented a 15 passenger.
That would everybody just keep it.
Wait, let me see.
Now it's class.
And we're in a this suite, so your room has not even have to stay one, but it does have at least one.
I think I'm gonna buy a kilo routines. I'm just not good at jewelry. Like I want it, and I just I'm really not good at it. Oh my gosh, this is why I wear this ring though, because it gives me a little win. So these bracelets off.
Feels like nobody's
I think my head's
These are
too
bracelets
small.
for lights.
That's a small head.
Keep screwing down.
Okay, where's it?
He's not going on the trip.
Okay.
He's going on the break right now. Everyone's AJ.
Drew's got rehearsal. I think this really might be pretty close to it.
And the Mullins are still out.
The Mullins are still out.
What about the other girl who's in mine? What's her name, Tracy?
Eileen?
What's up, Eileen?
Yeah, she
Come on.
Eileen's on here.
She works a lot.
grew.
Oh, group.
I think she's fine. Okay. Okay, we're gonna get started because we wanna get, can you start that? Okay, we wanna get finished before,
So we can get good seats.
before worship. Yes. So.
Sorry.
We're gonna kind of keep this brief, but we have a lot of information that we wanna go over. And so that is why we wanted to have another meeting today. So first, Pierce, if you could talk about. No. Oh, when I'm talking?
Okay.
If
What do you want me to
talk about your meeting with
Yeah. So I told you guys last training, which was that last Sunday? I think so.
Sounds about right.
So Tuesday morning, I woke up and drove down to San Antonio and met with the folks that we were partying with. I met with two gentlemen. One named Bill Morgan, who lives in Bernie, is a not a good friend, but a connection with Richard Covington. He knows a few other people from Heights. And so Bill Morgan, honestly, if you've been to Honduras, he kind of, in a way, almost reminds me of Bill Hayden. Both did pretty successful in the real world, and then kind of realized that the Lord was calling them to something else. And so now Bill Morgan, for the most part, spends his days and his resources in inner city San Antonio. And so he is kind of partnered with a church and a guy who I also met named Pastor Clayton, who you'll hear a lot more from. He's from the neighborhood. He is a 3-time felon who found the Lord in prison and is now a pastor in the very neighborhood in which he grew up with, in which he dealt drugs and did all sorts of organized crime in this very neighborhood. Again, was felonized for it 3 times and is now pastoring these own people. And so he's a really interesting, nice dude who he didn't, and you guys will hear his story probably on Sunday night. We'll get to that. Super nice, quiet guy, but when he spoke, I mean, you could just tell, like, this dude, like, the Spirit of the Lord is indwelling with him. And again, and this is just my interpretation, but it just, when I was talking with him and we were in this hot, stuffy, outdated church and I was listening to the heart of a 3-time felon for his community, like it felt like, okay, this is probably like the situation that Jesus would have found himself in a lot. Like this is probably the people that he would be with. These are probably the pastors that he would want to spend time with. Not that Jesus doesn't want to spend time with me or Peyton or Gary or anyone, but there's just something really unique and godly about this dude, both gentlemen. And so what we'll do, well, I'll get to that in a minute, but so we were about, and we'll serve just east of San Antonio. So if you think of like, how many of you have been to San Antonio? I know we did this last time. So here is, I want to say I-10, but think of this as like downtown and the Riverwalk and all that fun stuff. And then you've got like the massive Alamo Dome. So it's just like 2-3 miles over here in East San Antonio. Gets pretty, as Bill would call it, do I?
It's definitely west.
Well, on my drawing it is. If this is north, let's just assume north is down here.
Okay.
That makes sense. But it is East San Antonio, I do believe. I
Okay.
think so. I'm not sure actually. Now you got the second guessing it.
Okay.
We've got maps with slides.
Who knows?
But anyways, this is it's for lack of better words, I mean it's pretty hood. Like it will be now we'll be safe. I'm not worried. It'll make me feel uncomfortable again. Several of I guess you two just got back from Honduras. Nancy, were you?
I was on.
Yeah, you were in Honduras. Sorry, Zane. So, but it does. I mean, it's not a place that you guys would hang out much. Probably if you weren't doing ministry and you lived in San Antonio, it kind of felt somewhat like South Dallas. A little bit where at Serve Dallas last year we served with Act for Justice and what was the name of that sweet lady at that church that we served with? Y'all know who I'm talking about? Miss and her parents came and spoke to us.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
yes.
Oh gosh, she always comments on me my hair.
Yeah.
My hair.
Oh,
He hated it.
He did, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, so kind of reminded me of that area. It was, I incorrectly gave you guys some information last week. The demographic is actually that will serve probably about half and half Hispanic and African American. And so, anyways, his ministry, like we said last week, is Point of Truth, right?
Moment of truth.
Moment of Truth. And we won't do a ton with them, but that is kind of like the ministry banner. They support this church that we will be partnering with, that Pastor Clayton is the pastor of. So does anyone have any questions about that before we can jump into the schedule?
No.
Okay.
Cool.
Do you want to talk
Cool.
through the
Yeah, so if you look at your first page on the schedule, and for those of you on YouTube, I'll text it out. But so the plan is we will leave from the church at 11:30 on Sunday, July 12th. So we're gonna ask you to eat before, and we'll repeat all of this before we leave, and then we will leave and head to San Antonio. Stop by Buc-ee's on the way down, and arrive at the hotel around 4:30. We'll have dinner down there, and then Pastor Clayton and Bill, who Pierce was just talking about, are going to come to the hotel and speak. So we'll get to meet them, hear their stories, hear a little bit from them about their ministry. And then we'll wake up, and the next couple days will look quite similar, but what it will look like is breakfast at the hotel, and then we'll depart for our serve sites. And in the mornings, we'll do some sort of service project, which will probably be more hands-on. We're asking you guys to bring work gloves, so it could be like mowing lawns or what are some examples that they said?
Painting. They've got a massive sort of thrift store clothing, so they said they need a lot of organization with that. And like they said, tons of widows in their community that can't do a lot of housework that needs to be done.
So we'll get to help with that, and then we'll have lunch, and then afterwards we're going to run Camp of Champions, which is a sports camp, and during the halftime portion of the sports camp, which is like the middle section. We'll run games and then we'll take like a water break. And during that water break, we'll get to sit down with the kids and we'll basically run over the week. We'll get to share the gospel with them and your personal testimony with them. And so during this meeting, we'll go over one of the sessions. There's going to be 3 different days, so 3 different sessions. And then we'll go back to the hotel and then probably eat out one of the nights, and another night we're going to go to eat in is it a city or a suburb called Bernie?
Yeah, it's a city suburb. Kind of like McKinney.
Yeah. So Richard knows some people. The place called Bernie. And then the last night that we're serving, we're going to have a cookout with Moment of Truth Ministries and the people that we've been serving with. We're going to have a cookout with them to finish off our week. And then on Thursday, we'll either serve in the morning and then explore the city in the afternoon, or we'll explore the city most of the day. We're still working exactly on what that looks like. The will look like visiting the Alamo, just seeing different things around the city, like on the Riverwalk or Pearl Street. What is it called?
Pearl District.
I haven't been to San Antonio in a long time, but apparently it's pretty cool. And then we'll eat dinner together as a team and celebrate what God has done during the week before leaving the next morning to drive back together, stop for lunch, and then arrive back at the Heights probably around 3-ish in the afternoon.
So one thing, let me jump in finances. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay, so as you probably can tell from the schedule, and again, we will remind your parents, but you will be responsible if you want. We will make a stop on the way down, and then Thursday lunch, kind of out and about in the city, and then also Friday lunch, we'll stop in Waco or something like that. And so,
fast food.
Yeah.
So
It'll
write
be-
this down if you're a pen or something.
Yep. You guys know how much you spend at Chick-fil-A or Whataburger or something, so $10, whatever, will probably be good. And so the price of the trip is going to be $400. We landed right in the middle of that range. So again, some of you are just going to get money back. If you paid fully for South Dakota, you're going to get $300 back. If you only paid your deposit for South Dakota, which was $200, you owe another $200. We'll look in managed missions, and we'll reach out to you. I think most people are probably going to be getting money back, right?
We paid
Yeah.
for that.
Oh yeah, the refunds and whatnot. So I think for most of you, you should be good. But like I said, $400. That'll include every meal except for the ones that I just mentioned would be on the road. So on, I think, Monday night, if we stop for dinner, and the nice thing about a small group, if we stop for dinner at Chick-fil-A, then we'll pay or whatever.
And that's already covered.
Yeah, that's already covered with the $400 you're paying. The reason we do those meals on your own is because on Thursday when we're in the city, we don't necessarily have to stay together as a group, and so it's just easier. You'll need to stay with, I guess, one of our 4 adults, but there's not too many options you can go. But if we do kind of split up in smaller teams, you guys can pick up the meal on your own. We are staying, back to my map of San Antonio.
We still don't know where the north is.
If this is north, and this is south, and this is where we're serving, this is where we live for the week. So we're staying at an Embassy Suites. South of what? Is there something funny about Embassy Suites?
No.
Do you not stay there?
I'm just making fun of your drawing, sorry.
Amen.
It's good.
The house is very tiny.
Because it's trash.
It's a hotel room. There's many though. We're not all staying in one room. That would be weird.
There's 7.
There's 7 rooms. So we will be south of town. Again, I don't think, knowing most of your parents, I don't think they'll have any questions about this, but we are staying in a normal, you're distracting my live viewing audience.
How many people are actually watching?
No. Because
They will be later.
we decided to live stream this when we saw that there was only
There's
8
one
people.
person.
I think that's probably me.
Oh.
But we're staying about 15 minutes away from where we're serving. So it'll be plenty safe. It appears to be an unnecessarily nice hotel, but it really was the cheapest, but it happens to be brand new. So don't get ideas if this is your first Heights mission trip that we always stay in this national accommodations. It's a little silly. They're like, this is too nice. We're gonna, but it's cheap. So, what other questions? There's something else.
Hold on.
Does anyone have any questions about that?
No.
Wow.
Turn your page.
Oh yeah.
Packing list. Y'all cannot read, so I'm not gonna read that for you. If you can't read, go back to school. But that's your packing list.
Hey, one thing, as we have said often,
Look at the bottom.
reusable masks. So you could play this any number of ways. You could buy one of these masks if you want to bring like 5 of those papery masks. You can do that. Here's what we're gonna do with masks. We're gonna always have a mask on us, not necessarily always on. And this is the reason I feel really strong about always having a mask on us, is because there might be an opportunity when, say, the Spirit prompts you to go up and talk to someone, but they're wearing a mask, and so therefore you not wearing a mask could be an obstacle to what could be a gospel conversation. And so I know you would all agree, why not just keep one around your neck? And if Alyssa sees a lady sitting on her porch, and it obviously seems safe, and she wants to go up and ask how you can pray for her, then knowing this lady is wearing a mask, Alyssa can throw that on, and therefore it's one less barrier to that conversation. Does that make sense? So I'm not saying that like while Mace is out mowing someone's lawn, he needs to wear a mask. That would be crazy. We're not going to wear masks when we're just around each other. I think by all of us coming, we're just assuming if one of us gets the COVID, we probably all get it. And, you know, it is what it is. That's kind of how it was in Honduras, right? And none of us got it. So unless you're comfortable, if you or your parents come to the decision that you need to wear your mask all the time, more power to you. But yeah, there you go. You do.
But yeah, so please make sure you have that, because that is a must. As well as, yeah, I mean, again, you can read. So take a look at that. If you have any questions, please let us know. But yeah, that is your parking list. Okay, would you lead us in our discussion over?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
The Bible stories that we had a couple of times ago, are those gone?
Yes, we are nixing those. Those
So-
were for South Dakota, and we are not doing a VBS.
Yeah.
And so maybe next mission trip.
The reason we're not doing a VBS, which I actually really respect this about this organization, but they don't, and it's a little different this summer, but they don't typically like their groups to do VBS, because what ends up happening is they'll have 8 church trips come in, and every group wants to do a VBS. And so therefore the same kid does like 8 VBSs all summer, which for them, they just like it loses its effect a little bit. And so now when we talked about Camp of Champions, their eyes, especially Pastor Clayton's eyes lit up. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go start telling people about this tomorrow. So the idea of kind of sports camp rec really resonated with them. So it seems like a better tool that we can use to serve them. All right. So with the article, we'll just stay together. But the first question is, why do you guys believe sharing your testimony is so important?
Not all at once.
If you guys don't answer, I'm gonna keep going maps.
I think that it extends to all branch. Like everyone wants to be pursued, so like you like putting the first like thought down for being vulnerable, you're like, oh, okay, like wow. There's something to do.
Why do you think that might be especially important for Christians?
Showing like that is your identity, like, hey, this is who I am, like, who are you?
I think also people can be nervous to change. So if you have like a really, like if your testimony includes, like being in a really dark place, people that are in a really dark place can identify with that.
Yeah.
And it shows kind of like the artist said, we're all sinners.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think what I was kind of following with you is, in my opinion, I think a lot of times non-believers think of us as believers as just like almost these lifeless robots that nothing bad ever happens to, and to show like, oh no, I got some junk too, and I got, you know, some scars as well, can kind of be, to go back to what Alyssa said, sort of that olive branch of, hey, I'm, you know, though the gospel makes me totally different than you, I'm also not that different than you, if that makes sense. Anyone else want to add to that before moving on to the second question?
I think it also adds that like personal factor, like it's not some high mighty, like everybody, I guess I feel like everybody knows the story, like the Christmas story, it's nothing like that. It's like you're looking at the person, and that's what happened in their life, like you physically are looking at them.
Yeah.
So it like makes it more personal.
It's so much more relatable. I mean, I think we all are like, our culture is so inundated with story, you know, movies, books, TV shows. But if that's 80% of the stories we hear, I don't know, maybe it's less, maybe it's more, then only 20% are stories, like Ellie said, that we actually can like personally like, that have become personally tangible in a way. So totally. What is the overall point of your story?
The point of the testimony,
Like a transformation that was caused by Jesus, like the gospel.
to show that Jesus saves everyone.
Did we talk about 15-second testimony in here?
Yeah, it was over the first week.
Oh, when we were going to South Dakota.
Yeah, you had trouble with the.
Oh, the,
Screen, yeah, you were lying.
what do you think is the point, Grayson? Oh, you said transformation. Unpack that.
Like, because we're supposed to be set apart, the whole point of the testimony is to show that at some point in your life, at every point in your life, that you've been inadequate and you've been like just sinful, and that you couldn't do it on your own, and that when Jesus was introduced, that everything changed.
Yeah.
And that like the main purpose of a testimony is to show that that can happen to you in some sort of way too.
Yeah. Kind of what you're saying, and then marrying that with what, I forgot who said it, but most of our stories start off fairly similar, where it's relatable, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, I am a Christian, but like I've been through some things, right? But what's cool is then when you play in the gospel, it's kind of like the ultimate like plot twist, you know? It's then suddenly, oh wow, yeah, we do have similar past, but yet my future is totally different because, to use Tracy's word, I've been transformed by the gospel. And so it's that sort of, what was a seemingly similar story has this great ending that unless you've experienced the gospel, your story doesn't have. For those of you who just, this is for Peyton and I's thoughts. Have you guys that have been on this show, have y'all enjoyed doing articles like this more than a book? No. Really?
I really do.
Good to know. Good to know. Zane, was that a no also? You like the book? Cool. Totally paid. I thought you guys would like it. Well, my thought was with an article, you can just cover more, more variety, more topics, but that's cool. It probably is less reading too.
Yeah, it's definitely less.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a book like makes me read it because it's
It's tangible.
way less likely.
Yeah.
Well, just for the future, I would have gladly printed off any of these articles for you guys.
Like tactics that we read before.
Yeah, I went back and forth on that book. There's parts that I don't like. Moving on. Are you ever hesitant to share a story with people you don't know? Let me ask this question first. Who in here is, I would rather share my story with someone I don't know over someone I do know? Who finds that easier? Okay. So Zane, I love this question because it's always such an even split. So Zane, Trace, and Kate, Bryn, and Ellie, y'all are like, I'd rather share it with a stranger that I'll probably never see again. So now I assume the rest of you which was Alyssa, Eileen, and Michael and Mace would rather share with someone. Okay, so those of you in my first group, why do you think it's easier to share your story with someone you're not familiar with? And there's no right or wrong here. It's your own why.
I mean, I feel like there's less of a bias and less of like a feeling that you have to like say a certain thing. Like, if I'm telling my friend about my testimony, they already have all this prior knowledge of who I am and the things I've said and the things I've done, and they like could be critical or say something that like makes me uncomfortable. But with people I don't know, they don't know all of my history, and so they know what I tell them.
Yeah.
So you can
People
have like
kind of
more
control the
control
narrative.
of what's
Yeah.
going on, and like you said, you probably won't see him again. And if you do, this is the beginning of your relationship, and not, and that's like a positive thing to start on.
They like and just never say it again.
And Kate, I know you would never do this, but I think that's a temptation you have to fight on a mission trip, is that you do control the narrative. And when you meet someone in San Antonio, they only know mission trip base. You know, they don't know weekend in the middle of September base or whatever. Just use party base. Yeah, party. They don't know party base. Okay, the other half of you, Alyssa, Michael, and Eileen, I think, why would you guys rather share your story with someone you know and have a pre-existing relationship with?
I guess the other side, like they do know your whole story, so I feel like it's gonna be more personable and more like have a conversation, they understand, they give you advice, and like you talk about stuff and like I don't know,
Most of those situations are already friends, so it's not quite as awkward.
yeah, it's not necessarily awkward. Like I wouldn't mind sharing my story with someone I didn't know, but it's more like I feel like sometimes when you share something big with somebody all I know, it just kind of ends. And you're like, okay, you know what?
Alright, maybe I'll see you tomorrow. Maybe not.
Right, you know, Jesus, but that's all I guess.
Yeah.
So, but I guess with like someone I know, it'd be more of a conversation and like might take a couple hours. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Plus, there's always the thought that I could be coming on too strong if I give my life story to a stranger.
I think for me, it like opens up a deeper conversation with someone because
Yeah.
they feel like opening up about something that they wouldn't tell anybody else.
Well, and I think, so obviously I said there's not a right or wrong answer, but I do think your story never changes. But the way you tell your story should change, I believe, based on who you're talking to. And so sometimes all you have time for is the 15-second testimony, you know? That's kind of your elevator, y'all know what elevator pitch is, right? Y'all are in that school still? Do you know what an elevator pitch is?
No, it's just nothing new.
But you do know what it is.
Yes. I know.
Okay. So that's like the elevator pitch of your testimony, you know, it's, you guys don't do this, but it's your Uber driver kind of thing. You only have like 5 minutes in the car with them, and so this is all you're gonna get to tell. And then you have, you're probably, I might get 30, 45 minutes with this person, or I might be taking, Michael might be taking a coworker to dinner for a work-related thing, and he's gonna have an entire hour and a half dinner with him. It's the same story, but it's different time in which you have to tell them, so that changes. But I also believe it changes based on who you're talking to. In a way, if you had a non-believing parent, you still have a testimony, I believe, to share with your non-believing parent, even though they've experienced more of your life than you really have, or they know more of it since you don't really remember the first 5 years. But you would still have a story to tell them, but it's so drastically different than the story you tell someone you've never met. Or, if Brenda shares her testimony with her best friend, it's going to be different than how she would share it with someone she met in San Antonio on a mission, right? Yeah, because, kind of going back to what Kayla said, there's some pre-existing knowledge. You can skip some details, you can add some other details, but all that to say, I think you almost have to have a little, an arsenal of different, I hate to say different versions, that makes it sound like your story changes. Your story doesn't change, but different, emphasis, different.
Emphasis.
Yeah, I would like to think we're always emphasizing the gospel when we're telling our
Yeah.
story, but different versions. I think y'all know what I'm saying. I'm really struggling with like the correct wording,
I got you.
but y'all know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
So
Like, add more details.
yeah, Or if you're with a kid, you're going to tell it different than if you're telling it to the peer. All right, finally, last question. Does anyone have, just that they can encourage us with, a cool story about a time that they shared their testimony? My Honduran people, who got to share their story in Honduras? No? Yeah, I see them all do. No?
I didn't get to.
Yeah.
You don't share your story at all? Not even once we were in rice and beans in the street.
We didn't
Rice
do
and
beans
beans?
much.
Rice and beans was like,
We did
you
twice.
just gave me.
Well, we had one person talk in our group, so it was like the same person who talked everywhere.
Does anybody?
So I'll look at it from, it's not my story, it's actually Jack's story, he's not here. But,
That's fine.
he was my junior counselor several camps ago for kids ministry.
Yeah, it was so weird.
Yeah.
With my group.
Here. That's crazy.
Was he really?
That was 4 years ago.
I was
Actually, I guess it was, because it was your year. Anyway, so it's a tangent. So he was my junior counselor, and just the relationships we built with those boys, you know, they were asking by the end of the week, hey, what is your story? How did you get here? And so it was kind of that question, seeing them question and seeing how God was working in their life. And then Jack just sat down and was able to share his testimony, and it wasn't clean, it wasn't glamorous, it was just, this is what God did, and he can do it for you too. So it was kind of good to see all the kids that were kids. So
I think that's such a good testament to, so often I think like the evil one traps us in a corner thinking like, oh, I'm just not good at talking to people, I'm not very articulate. But in reality, I believe on the receiving end of that testimony is one, the Spirit working in someone else's life, but also like we overemphasize the need to like have, in my opinion, to have like every word perfectly articulated when we're talking. When in reality, going back to what some of y'all said, or I think you said, Alyssa, people just want to know that you're human, you're vulnerable, and that you've struggled with things too, and that you found victory over your struggle, right? Doesn't really matter as much if you can articulate it like a pastor or a professional spokesperson. It's just whether or not you're willing to be vulnerable, honest, and trust that the Spirit will do the rest. But well, I hope, since many of you did not raise your hand, I hope that when we debrief the last night of the trip, we can all raise our hand and say, yes, I had a chance to tell my story. So,
I have a recent
Yeah.
one.
oh, sweet.
Well, not too recent, but the last one was my cousin from Mexico.
Uh-huh.
I opened up to her about my testimony because me and my aunt were like talking about God, and like just right then she accepted Christ.
What?
That's awesome.
That's super cool.
That's a great story.
It is. Just gonna slow play that one. That's awesome. Very cool, Allie. Thanks for sharing that. That's encouraging.
Cool. So the last thing that I want to go over, if you turn to your last page in your little packet, it'll say Camp of Champions at the top. And so, like I said, there's 3 different days that we're doing Camp of Champions. And so today I just want to go over the first one. So basically, raise your hand if you've done Camp of Champions before. Just 2 of y'all. Because y'all did in England, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, it's a sports-based, we'll have different activities that we'll be doing. And then for the halftime section, this is what I'm going over. We'll sit down and there'll be a Bible section to where you can add a personal, your personal story, and then a discussion part. So you'll sit down with more than likely someone else in the group and like a group of kids. It could be 4 kids, it could be 10 kids. Probably elementary school age is what we're guessing. We're gonna be really, really flexible and just see who shows up and minister to whoever shows up. But the section that will like the kind of the way that we're gonna share the gospel is there's these little symbols. Wow, that was sad. I'm gonna see your map. So, and we're hoping to have little wristbands that we can wear and hand out that will have these in order to show the kids like a visual way that we'll share the gospel. So there's a heart, and so day one, if you look, what it says is it's God loves me. And so what we want them to get away from day one is that they're loved by the creator of the universe. The second day, it has an X. It's basically showing that we're what if you had to guess?
Sin.
We're sinners. The third day, because it goes usually 4 days, but we're only doing Camp of Champions 3 days, so we're putting the last 2 days together. A cross. What could that be? Jesus. And then it's a question mark. What do you think that could be?
What do you do next?
Yeah. So we're loved, but we sinned against God, but He sent Jesus. And so what is our response to that? And so first day, second day, third day. And so this one, the first day, God loves me. So when you sit down with your group, you'll go over the scripture. And the ones that I picked out is Isaiah 43, 1 through 7. And then also if you look at creation, Genesis 1, 26 through 31. If you look through creation, in creation when He's creating things, the Lord says, oh, that's good, that's good, that's good. And then when He creates people in His image, what does He say? That's very good. And so like God makes us, we're made in His image. He knows us, He loves us, He gives us a purpose, He gives us identity. And then you can like add a personal touch. This is where you want to share parts of your story. So for those who've said you haven't shared your story, this is where you get to share your story. Now it's not going to be your full I grew up in church and this and this and this, but you don't always have to share your entire testimony to relate to what you're teaching. You can share parts of it. Yeah. So, you can just share a time in your life where you felt God's love for you for the first time, or where you felt that, that you were just loved by God, or how you knew you were loved by God. And then there's some discussion questions. And there's going to be a fourth one here. It didn't print. I don't know why. I'll add that when I put all of them together. But I just wanted you guys to kind of see what this would look like. And I'll have all of them put together for next on Sunday. And we'll go look through the other two. And so then you guys can have all three. And you guys, I want you to look through them and know them really well because you guys are going to be teaching these. Pierce and I aren't going to be teaching these. Your leaders aren't going to be teaching these. We're going to have you guys teach these. Okay? And so look through these scriptures, know these scriptures really well, know the discussion questions. Know how if Kate and Alyssa are sitting and y'all are teaching, know how if Alyssa, you read the scripture and are talking about this, Kate, how can you use your personal story to interact with this, okay? So y'all read over these. But that's just how I wanted to finish up and just kind of explain what this will look like. And we're going to go over games and stuff later for what Camp of Champions will look like. But we gave you guys a lot of information today. Do y'all have any questions? No? Cool. Lastly, one logistical thing. On Managed Missions Online, where you guys put your money in and all that online, if you already filled out a waiver and stuff for South Dakota, you have to go fill out another one for San Antonio because it said South Dakota on it, so it becomes void. So sorry about that. And then also, I think Pierce mentioned this last week, and we'll mention it again next week.
Your parents will get an email.
And your parents will get an email about it. But starting the 28th, this Sunday, if you start showing any symptoms of COVID at all, like a fever or shortness of breath or all of that, in order for you to go on the trip, you're going to have to sign something saying that you haven't shown symptoms for 2 weeks. So if you start showing symptoms, you're going to have to get a COVID test and show that you're negative before you can go on the trip.
Yeah, and obviously we trust you guys. We know that you'll be honest with us. But if it's 2 days before the trip, we'll figure out how to get you tested quickly and then get you rejoined with the team. So don't fret. I think my fear is you guys as kids, y'all spike fevers pretty often and routinely. It's just part of, I think, the body developing. And so we want you to be honest about that, and we want to get you tested just so we can all be extra safe. So as soon as you start to feel bad, have your parents take your temperature. If you need help getting tested, we've had to get a few people tested, they've all come back negative. We can help make that happen real quick. You can get those results back super soon, and you'll be the healthiest person on the trip because you'll know that you don't have it.
True.
So,
And then lastly, I remember what I was gonna say. So we have one more meeting, last one on Sunday at 3:30 in here. It's before the last Sunday, which is at 5. But your parents are invited to come at 4:30 to 5, and we'll commission everybody off and pray together. But also we would love them to come to ask any questions that they have. So please come with any questions, especially I think this trip there could be extra questions just with the change in the trip and the season that we're going and everything like that. So we want them to feel as comfortable as possible. So.
And we will email out the addresses for where we'll be serving and our hotel. Should your parents need to contact us this way, as well as
Our phone
Kate and
numbers.
I's number. Richard Covington will be with us on the first part of the trip as well. So he'll be there Sunday to Wednesday morning. So, yeah, that was it. So,
Surprise!
all right, I'm gonna end this stream and then y'all can head up.
Oh yeah, where's your night?
Bye, online friends.
Bye.